Let's talk about one of the biggest mysteries out there, consciousness. I mean, that feeling of being you, right here, right now, experiencing the world. It's maybe the greatest puzzle in all of science. We can map every single signal in the brain, but that actual subjective experience of being alive, that remains a total mystery. So today, we're going to dive into a pretty radical theory, one that suggests our inner world is connected to the very fabric of the universe itself.
Okay, so where do you even start with a question that massive? Well, the material we're digging into today, which comes from a review by Stuart Hameroff and the legendary Sir Roger Penrose, basically says there are three main ways people have tried to answer this.
All right, so you've got three main camps, right? In one corner, you have the standard scientific view. Consciousness is basically a clever trick, an illusion cooked up by your brain's incredible computing power. In the other corner, you have the spiritual or dualist view, that consciousness is something else entirely, a non-physical soul or spirit that's totally outside the realm of science. But the theory we're exploring today, called Orch OR, offers this incredible third way. It says, hey, what if consciousness isn't an illusion and it's not supernatural either? Instead, what if it's a fundamental feature of the universe? Something written into the laws of physics that our brains just got really good at tapping into.
Now, to really get why we might even need a wild new theory like this, we've got to first look at the cracks starting to show in the standard model. This whole idea that the brain is just a fancy computer made of meat.
You know, the classic textbook idea of a neuron is something called integrate and fire. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. A neuron just sits there, adds up all the signals it's getting, and once it hits a certain magic number, bam! It fires off its own signal. Simple, predictable, almost like a light switch in a computer. But here's the thing. When scientists actually look at neurons in a living, conscious brain, that neat little model, well, it kind of goes out the window. If you look at this slide, on the right, you can see that the real firing point isn't a clean line at all. It's this wide, fuzzy, unpredictable range. It's almost as if some other hidden factor, some X factor, is helping to make the call.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg. The computer model really starts to sweat when you ask it the big questions. Like, why does it feel like something to be you? That's the famous hard problem. Or, how does your brain take the sight, smell, and feel of a rose and bind them into one single experience? And if we're all just running algorithms, where does real understanding come from? Where does free will fit in? The bottom line is, just saying it's a computer doesn't seem to be enough. So, if the answer isn't just in how neurons chat with each other, where else could we possibly look? The Orch OR theory says we need to zoom in, way in, to a much deeper level of processing that's happening inside the neurons themselves.
So, where could this mystery ingredient, this X factor that seems to be influencing everything, actually be hiding?
The theory proposes that the answer is found deep inside the neuron, in its very bones. Every single one of your brain cells is packed with this intricate, organized lattice of protein cylinders called microtubules. For a long time, we thought they were just cell scaffolding, but they might just hold the key to a whole new level of computing.
Okay, just look at that number, 10 to the power of 16. That's the number of potential operations per second that some researchers think could be happening inside the microtubules of just one single neuron. To put that in perspective, that's about the same processing power that the conventional model ascribes to the entire brain. It's like we've been looking at a city and completely missing the supercomputers running inside every single building.
And this is where things get really wild. We're about to take a spectacular leap from the biology of a brain cell straight into the fundamental, bizarre, and wonderful world of quantum physics. Okay, at the heart of quantum mechanics is this super weird but totally proven idea called superposition. All it means is that a tiny particle, like an electron, isn't in just one place. It exists as a kind of cloud of possibilities in all the places it could be, all at the same time. It only snaps to one single location when we measure it.
No, Sir Roger Penrose takes this idea to a whole other level. He argues that when a particle is in a superposition, it's not just the particle that's in two states. He says the very fabric of reality, of space-time itself, is being pulled into two slightly different shapes at once, creating this tiny separation, this little blister in reality. It's a mind-bending idea, but this image really helps you picture it.
And that leads to a huge, glaring question. If the quantum world is all about multiple possibilities happening at once, why don't we see that in our world? Why do we only ever experience one solid, definite reality? You know, why does the cat end up either alive or dead, but never both?
Penrose's answer is called objective reduction, or OR for short. He says that these little spacetime blisters are fundamentally unstable. Once a superposition gets big enough, it hits a tipping point and just collapses into one state all by itself. And this is the crucial part. It's a law of physics. It doesn't need a person to look at it. The universe does it automatically.
So at that moment of objective reduction, the universe itself effectively makes a choice. The superposition collapses, one of those spacetime shapes gets picked, and that becomes the single reality we all experience. It's a physical event where one outcome is plucked from a whole field of possibilities.
Okay, you ready? We now have the two key ingredients. We've got the quantum potential inside the brain's microtubules, and we have this physical process in the universe called objective reduction. It's time to put them together.
And this, right here, is the Orch OR Theory. It proposes that these quantum computations are building up inside the brain's microtubules, orchestrated by all the inputs the neuron is receiving. They keep growing until they hit the physical limit for Penrose's objective reduction, and they collapse. And here's the mind-blowing part. That physical event, that specific moment of collapse, is a moment of conscious experience.
This slide shows you the whole shebang, so let's walk through it. On the left, you've got the integrate phase. This is quantum superposition building up inside those microtubules. The quantum state gets bigger and bigger until, you can see it on the graph, it hits that critical threshold. Boom. At that instant, you get an Orch OR event. The theory says that event is a moment of pure conscious experience. That conscious moment then selects the final outcome, which in turn influences the neuron to fire. So see, consciousness isn't just a spectator here, it becomes a real causal player in the physical world.
So, what if this is right? What would it all mean? Well, honestly, the implications are absolutely staggering. We're talking about answers to questions that philosophers, spiritual leaders, and scientists have been asking for thousands of years.
If Orch OR turns out to be correct, it means consciousness is not some algorithm that we could ever program into a computer. It's causal, meaning it provides a real physical mechanism for free will, for genuine choice. And maybe most profoundly of all, it suggests that consciousness isn't something the brain creates out of nothing. It's something the brain accesses, a fundamental process that's literally woven into the geometry of spacetime. It's a feature of our universe that life simply learned how to harness.
You know, the creators of this very theory put it best themselves. In their view, consciousness isn't some random happy accident of biology. As they say right here, it plays an intrinsic role in the universe. It's as fundamental to reality as space, time, or gravity.
So I'll just leave you with this to chew on. If a moment of conscious choice is an actual physical event where the universe itself selects one reality from a sea of possibilities, and if our own awareness is a direct line to that fundamental cosmic process, then what does that make us? Are we just passive observers watching the movie of the universe, or are we active participants helping to write the script?